Welcome to this explainer. Come on in, pull up a chair, and let's step up to the virtual whiteboard together. Today, we're going to demystify a really fundamental concept in software architecture, kind of like a one-on-one mentoring session. We're exploring the proxy design pattern. You see, in software design, just like in the real physical world, we absolutely need a reliable way to control access to our most important assets. And the proxy pattern, well, it's the ultimate gatekeeper. By the time we wrap up this session, you're going to understand exactly how to use it to secure and streamline your very own systems. Let's get right into it. Here's our quick roadmap for today's lesson. First up, we'll look at a real-world analogy to ground us. Then, we'll peek behind the scenes to see how it works. And finally, we'll cover exactly when you should actually use a proxy in your code.
All right, Chapter 1, the real-world analogy.
Now, I want you to imagine an everyday door. Its main job is incredibly simple, right? It opens and it closes. Literally anyone can just turn the handle and walk right on through. But now picture a massive high-security vault door. Its core function is exactly the same, letting you inside, but it requires a strict checkpoint. You need a security scanner, maybe an access card, or a password before that thing ever budges. In software, we honestly spend a lot of time building regular doors, only to realize later on that, whoops, we actually needed a vault. We need a strict checkpoint to secure a core function. And that brings us to the formal definition. A proxy is simply a class functioning as an interface to something else. Think of it kind of like a wrapper. When a user, or even another part of your program, tries to access a core system, they don't actually talk to the system directly. Nope, they talk to the proxy. It acts exactly like that security scanner at our vault door, tightly controlling access to the real object that's doing all the heavy lifting behind the scenes. To put it in the absolute simplest terms, using the proxy pattern, a class represents the functionality of another class. It's basically a highly reliable stand-in. It looks like the real object, and it acts like the real object, but it holds the ultimate authority to grant access, deny it, or even add some extra steps before the real work actually begins. Moving right along to Chapter 2, Behind the Scenes, let's see how these mechanics operate. Okay, let's dive into this. In more technical discussions, you might hear the proxy referred to as a surrogate class. Now, I know that sounds like a bunch of high-level jargon, but just think of it as a bodyguard. It's a stand-in, kind of like a bouncer holding a clipboard at the door, that takes the place of your main class specifically to manage who actually gets in. It intercepts incoming requests, so your main code never has to stress about security or validation. Imagine we're drawing this out on a whiteboard. Here is how the flow actually works in practice. Step 1. The client requests access to a function, but before that request ever reaches its final destination, it hits Step 2 right in the middle, which is our proxy. The proxy intercepts the request completely. It pauses everything to check preconditions, like, hey, do you have the right password? Is this system allowed to proceed? And only if those conditions are totally met does the proxy unlock the real object in Step 3, happily forwarding the request along. It's a very methodical, perfectly controlled flow. Let's look at another really cool example, an object data mapper for a database. You can think of it like a catch-all intercom system. When a developer asks the database for some information, the proxy intercepts that call. The database still does all the heavy lifting, but instead of handing raw, messy database code straight back to the developer, the proxy acts as that intercom. It catches the raw result and translates it into a neat, formatted object. So the developer just gets perfectly clean data every single time. All right, let's wrap things up with Chapter 3, When to Use a Proxy. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the specific extra functionalities a proxy provides. Like, why even insert this middleman in the first place? Well, first off, caching. If the real object performs a massive, resource-intensive operation, the proxy can just save the result. The next time someone asks for it, boom, the proxy just hands over the saved copy, preventing your entire application from bogging down. Second, just like we talked about with our vault door, it's great for checking preconditions and securing objects via strict access control. And finally, providing additional routing or mapping logic, just like our intercom, translating those database results. It's really all about adding that invisible utility. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it shows where the proxy fits into the broader universe of software design. The proxy is what we call a structural pattern. Structural patterns focus on the static setup between objects, literally building the vault door itself. But once that structure is built, we rely on behavioral patterns. These focus entirely on how objects actually communicate and pass messages. They basically answer the question of how to run a behavior within the static structure we just built. Just to give you the complete picture here, once your structural proxy is firmly in place, behavioral patterns take over the show. We're talking about patterns like the observer, command, or strategy. While the proxy is busy ensuring your building is secure and structurally sound, these behavioral patterns dictate exactly how the people inside that building talk to one another to get their jobs done. And that brings us to a final thought for today's whiteboard session. We've seen firsthand how the proxy intercepts requests, adding absolutely vital security and caching without disturbing your core code. So take a hard look at the architecture you're building right now. Are your software objects actively protecting their most resource-intensive assets, or are they leaving the vault door wide open? Keep structuring safely, and I'll see you in the next explainer.